Klein, host of Tango Stories, which brings you glimpses into the lives of the dancers, musicians, organizers, and DJs who are part of the worldwide resurgence of Argentine tango. Thanks for joining me here on USALA Radio. I'm very happy to have here today, joining us by WhatsApp from New York City, Pedro Giraudo, who is a composer, arranger, and double bassist. He brought his incredible tango orchestra to the Philly Tango Fest last May, and, well, it's really great to have you kind of back in Philly, if only virtually, Pedro. Welcome.
Oh, thank you so much. It is actually my pleasure to be here.
Thanks for making time for it. You direct really a remarkable number of different groups, from a swing band and a jazz orchestra to all different sizes of tango groups and orchestras, from a trio up to an orchestra of 10 instrumentalists. Is that right?
That is correct, yes.
Wow. And you had already released a number of albums, 6 or 7 albums in the genres of jazz and big band. And you had actually really amazing feedback on them. I was looking through the press section of your website, and it jumped out to me, or at me, from the New York Times. Giovanni Russonello said that your arrangements have the ducking counter melodies and crosstalk of a Bob Brookmeyer chart and the feisty footwork of Astor Piazzolla's up-tempo tunes. So that was about one of the jazz albums in the New York Times?
Exactly. Yeah, that's the second to last album that we released, I think, in 2014.
Wow, and then you had one more after that.
Yes.
In Argentina and New York?
Exactly. That's the one that I went to conduct a WDR big band, which is a kind of a German-based kind of state-sponsored big band, which is one of the best in the world.
Wow!
And I went there for 2 weeks, rehearsed, and performed a concert and recorded. It was a really outstanding experience.
That's amazing. So all of that work, and you've been playing and directing tango orchestras for years, but you just only released your first tango album in 2018. Is that right?
Yeah, that's partially right. I've been leading my big bands for actually 18 years. My first project, which was a jazz sextet, started in the year 2000.
Goodness.
And after that, I've been playing a lot of tango with a lot of different people, but it was not until 2015 that I started my own tango project. So although I had been playing a lot of tango, I was not leading one. So it was only in 2015 that I started, writing, arranging, and composing for a tango ensemble.
And so the album that you released this year is called Vigor Tanguero?
That's right, yes. We recorded last year, 2017, with Nick Danielson on the violin, Rodolfo Zanetti on the bandoneon, Emilio Teval on the piano, and myself on bass. So kind of a pretty standard tango quartet. And we recorded 10 original pieces that, I wrote, I guess from 2015 until now.
All of which are composed by you yourself?
Yes.
Wow. Still going through that press section on the website from Marco Cangiano from the New York City Record Review in June of this year. He said, the music portrayed in this album is a very moving, passionate, and even daring statement, building a bridge between tango's glorious past and its even brighter future. What a statement, right?
Indeed, yeah.
Because that is the idea. I mean, for everybody who's involved in tango, it's, how there was this golden age and then there was practically nothing. And now there's a lot of vitality in tango dancing and tango music. But it's so much.
True. There is a lot happening with tango now, not only in Buenos Aires, but also abroad. I mean, there are a lot of people who are doing, really interesting things in the dance department and also in the, music department.
And it does feel like building a bridge from
yes.
past glory to future relevance.
Yeah, I guess, I wouldn't say that, there was really nothing after the golden era. I mean, there was a moment of transition, and of course, we
Yes.
cannot escape the name of Astor Piazzolla,
Of
who,
course.
Single-handedly changed, the history of tango
Of
and
course.
its relationship with the broad public. So, but it was, there are always, transitions, things that are changing and evolving. So, yeah, and there are the fact that he said bridge also makes sense, because although my music is very current from many aspects, I use a lot of elements from traditional tango. So it kind of makes sense to mention the bridge idea.
Yes. I guess I was talking too much from a dancer's perspective, because the dance almost stopped happening. It never quite stopped, but it was so very close to not existing that, I feel very conscious of that. But it's true that at the time when people weren't dancing, the music was still growing and undergoing transformations that really influence what you're doing and other people composing and arranging and playing tango today.
Absolutely.
So can you tell us what happened with this album? Because it was amazing. So yes, let's give a listen to Voragine. That was Voragine of the Pedro Giraudo Tango Quartet from their Latin Grammy award-winning Vigor Tanguero. And again, you're here on Tango Stories on USALA Radio. We're talking with Pedro Giraudo today, who's a bassist, composer, and arranger. We've talked a little bit about your most recent activities, but I wanted to go way back to the past, how you started making music. And I know it's been a long journey since then. So if you take us the brief version through a little bit of that.
Cool. Are you trying to imply that I'm old?
No, you just told me you've been in New York for 22 years, which is remarkable because so many of the Argentine musicians that we talk to on this show or that, that come to Philadelphia to play, they just got to New York. And honestly, they look like they're the same age as you. I don't know how old any of you is, but so it really struck me that from obviously a really young age, you took this huge leap and moved from Cordoba, Argentina, right? So not even Buenos Aires, which is a little bit New York-ish, but from a provincial city to, one of the musical crossroads of the world, right? New York City.
Absolutely, no question about that. Yeah, so I guess my relationship with music started at a very, very early age. My mother used to be a singer, and my father was a conductor. So by the time I was 3, I think I started already with some kind of informal piano lessons. When I was 4, I added to that a little violin playing. But I guess, there was not a lot of chemistry with the instrument. So when I was 6, I quit the violin. But I did continue with the piano until I was, I think, 12 or 13, where my, teenager years made it, especially difficult. I really did not enjoy the necessary practice. And so eventually I quit.
Oh my goodness.
By the time I was 17, a very good friend of mine in Cordoba kind of suggested that I started playing the electric bass and joined his rock band.
Oh,
and of
wow.
course, I jumped at the idea. It took, I think, like 2 or 3 lessons. Then I, bought my first electric bass, which I still have here, and my daughter is asking to play at some point, which would be really delightful. And so I started playing rock. For the musicians out there, or the avid listeners, the bass lines in rock music are very full of force, but generally they're like very simple. So I guess kind of in the quest of looking for a little bit more sophistication, I started to visit more, jazz, which in Argentina back then meant kind of jazz fusion, and kind of started studying that more seriously. And when I was 18, I was kind of facing a crossroads. I wanted to be an engineer in kind of computers, and I did actually start studying at the university, but immediately realized that there was going to be no time to do both careers properly, engineering and music. And, I decided to go full with music, left the university. And after that, left with my electric bass in the back, took a plane. I auditioned in Miami first, which was kind of a scene from a movie, getting out there, the whole kind of campus with perfectly, green grass, sunny day, I loved it over there. But then I took, the plane to New York. I got off the subway and I felt it was like immediate love. I got off there and this is my city. There's no question about it.
You were like, I don't want that. You rejected the... You were like, I don't want that perfectly manicured campus. I don't need that that American university dream. I want to be in the big city.
Exactly. There is something raw about New York that is I have not found it anywhere else in the world. As a musician, I've traveled a lot, and there is not one time, although I've been touring for 17, 18 years now.
Wow.
There's not one time that I get back to the city and I don't just feel that incredible energy. You know, as much as the quality of life sucks here, you know, the energy is really unbeatable. It's and you know, I felt that the minute I got off, you know, the subway, I think it was Rockefeller Center, you know, stop, and luckily, you know, the school that I went to, Manhattan School of Music, and gave me the, you know, the best scholarship, so I was able to, you know, study here.
Wow.
But it was all jazz performance, you know, focused. And then eventually I also did my master's degree at City College, where I had the privilege and honor to study, you know, for 3 years with Ron Carter, you know, who is arguably, you know, I don't know, one of the best bass players in jazz history. I mean, if you say that, you're not really off.
Wow.
And which was, you know, a life-changing experience. But, you know, through all those years in the school, I, of course, was immersed in this incredible city and was exposed to a lot of different music. You know, I mean, although I was studying jazz very, you know, deeply, you know, the city has a lot of music. I mean, you can play, you know, really authentic Brazilian music, Indian music, Iranian music, Afro-Cuban music, Afro-Peruvian music, tango. I mean, you name it, there are people playing that music very authentically and with a really, you know, a high level. So I became very much a New York musician. You know, I played, you know, I'm something in a way of a musical chameleon. I can, you know, adapt to a lot of different styles fairly quickly, and I've learned a lot from all these different beautiful musical traditions. But, you know, tango, of course, being the music of my homeland, you know, draws me very, very, you know, closely, and what I've been focusing on for the last many years.
So in the course of a typical month, even now, you play all different kinds of music still. I think you mentioned that you had played in a church, you'd played a tango mass, you've played tango this week. Are you still playing in that full range of genres today?
Absolutely. I mean, every week brings so many different styles of music and repertoire. I mean, you know, I play, as I mentioned, you know, Cuban music. I play, you know, Peruvian music. I just finished a tour in Spain with this Spanish guitarist who actually does kind of a musical voyage throughout, you know, the Americas. So we play music from Argentina, from Brazil, from Venezuela, from Colombia, from the US, from Cuba. So it's you know, yeah, I still nowadays still play a lot of music from, you know, from different places, although I you know, I focus largely on, you know, tango and some jazz.
And you're also part of Música de Cámara, which is a classical string orchestra playing music from Latin America.
Exactly. That's actually an orchestra that I joined a few years ago, and it's beautiful because it focuses on presenting music by mostly, not exclusively, but mostly living Latin American composers.
Wow.
And yes, so it's, you know, I've been a part of that, and not only as a, you know, bassist, but also as a contractor and librarian. And, you know, I, you know, talked to the founder, the wonderful Eva de la O, who is this lady from Puerto Rico.
Uh-huh.
Amazing, you know, soprano who is, I think, now in her 90s.
Wow.
And who is just unstoppable. And when she was very young, she remembers very clearly on many occasions being kind of a looked down because she was from Puerto Rico. And I was like, oh, well, what do you mean playing classical music if you're from Puerto Rico? And she made it her mission, you know, to make the statement that, you know, there's a lot of beautiful classical music coming from Latin America and played by, you know, Latin American performers and composers.
That's so phenomenal, so important.
Yeah.
Do you think that your instrument, the double bass, is particularly flexible, that it lends itself, that it's easier maybe to move through all these different genres than other instruments?
It is certainly. I mean, the bass is kind of a common denominator among a lot of different kinds of music, and that is true for others. For instance, you know, the guitar is another instrument that really is, you know, adapted and can describe the sound. I mean, if you hear the guitar was one of the first instruments in tango. I mean, you cannot think pretty much of any kind of music here in the US without the guitar. I mean, it is the sound of Brazilian music. It's, you know, it's an instrument that has been adapted all over. And, you know, the same thing goes for the piano, in certain cases for the violin. I mean, but, you know, the bass is certainly one of the most flexible and used instruments in throughout, at least, you know, Latin America for sure, the Americas.
It's too bad it's not easier to carry around like a violin or a guitar.
Exactly. True indeed.
So after so many years of playing tango and many other genres of music, you ended up dancing tango. Is that right?
That is, yeah, right. I had actually the you know, the fun moment of teaching musicality to dancers with a wonderful friend, ex forever tango dancer, and, you know, just a marvelous dancer altogether, Mariela Franganillo. And while teaching musicality, I mean, of course, you know, she would take care of all the, you know, the physical part of dancing, and I would explain to all the students about the music and you know, how to relate to it, you know, the character and so on. And eventually, you know, the leaders would start missing from class, and I very shamelessly started, you know, also dancing. And the minute, you know, I felt that, you know, with all, you know, the struggles that, you know, we all beginners go through, the minute I started to feel that, you know, the embrace and the intimacy, the relationship with the music, I fell in love with it. And, you know, I mean, I'm still very much a beginner, but I enjoy so much, you know, when I am playing at milongas, when I, you know, put my instrument down and get to, you know, enjoy the music, dancing. It's yeah, something that also changed, you know, the way that I play tango drastically. I mean, you can definitely hear before and after when I started, you know, dancing.
That's awesome. So we'll take another break and listen to another piece off of Vigor Tanguero. And I knew we were going to talk a little bit about dancing, so I chose something quite danceable, Chicharrita, which is a milonga. And for those listening, most of you know, but maybe not all, milonga is the more upbeat rhythm within the world of tango. And when you see it danced, you can see the same kinds of steps and footwork, but much faster and more upbeat. Do you have anything else you want to tell us about Chicharrita before we listen to it, Pedro?
Absolutely. It is my homage to the wonderful pianist, composer, and band leader Osvaldo Pugliese, who was a, you know, titan of the history of tango. He led a wonderful orchestra for over 50 years, and he created a very unique style, and mainly known because of its depth. It's a very, you know, profound. The sense of the beat is very profound, and in the hits, it's a very visceral kind of experience to listen to him and to dance to his music.
Yeah.
But it seems that in spite that, you know, his music was so you know, profound, his voice was very high pitched, which earned him the nickname Chicharrita or Sicara. So I wrote this fun milonga for him, which is definitely not in the style of you know, Pugliese, but it's, you know, my little kind of greeting for him, and, you know, a way to say, you know, thank you for all the wonderful music.
That's wonderful. Let's listen to Chicharrita. if you're just joining us, you're listening to Tango Stories on USALA Radio, and we just heard Chitarrita, which is a milonga composed by Pedro Giraudo and performed by his quartet, and that's Chitarrita is an homage to Osvaldo Pugliese. You used to work with an amazing pianist who passed away way too soon, Octavio Brunetti, and I definitely wanted to play the tango you composed for him.
Absolutely, yes. He was a really marvelous person. Once again, one of my very dear friends. I was very lucky, to spend quite a lot of time with him. I used to play in his band, and we also had a kind of a collaborative with a trio with the Magico South one violin, and we toured, Japan many times with him, and there are only good memories about time with him. And as I mentioned earlier, it was because of his very early and unfortunate passing that I started my own tango projects. And while preparing all the music for the homage at the Lincoln Center, I did mainly arrangements, but I got to a point at the very end of many months of work that I decided to compose my very first tango, and it seemed very appropriate to write a tango dedicated to him, which was once again my very first tango, and It's simply called Octavio Brunetti.
That's wonderful. We'll listen now to Octavio Brunetti. Once again, that was a very special tango that Pedro Giraudo composed for his friend Octavio Brunetti after his passing. Pedro, it's been so really wonderful to have you here on Tango Stories today. And I hope our listeners will take the chance to learn a little bit more about you, try to go to your shows, maybe purchase some of your music online. So first I want to mention your website, which is your name, pedrogiraudo.com. It's pedrogiraudo.com. And listeners, if you go there, you'll see the site is bifurcated into jazz and tangos. You can explore both sections of his website there.
Absolutely. Well, first of all, thank you very much. It's been really, really wonderful speaking to you, and being able to share how this latest CD came to life. So thank you very much for that. And yes, to the whole audience, I kindly invite you to follow us. Once again, we have the website at the very bottom of the first page. You can sign our mailing list.
Nice.
I send only one email per month. We're also on Facebook, Pedro Giraudo Tango Orchestra. We're on Twitter. We are on Instagram. So for me, the most wonderful, feeling is that, people want to stay in touch, and, it's lovely to have kind of a community. So please do come out and get in touch with us. And so we can let you know we're a very active band. We play 4 or 5 times per month in the city in all kind of different kinds of events. We play concerts, we play milongas, and we adapt, our repertoire depending of what kind of event. We have a very danceable repertoire. We have something more, serious for, a concert. And we go, travel around. We're, for the people in Philly, we are playing at the Temple University on April 1st. It's going to be a concert with a dance performance as well.
Wonderful.
Once again, we kindly invite you to stay in touch with us so we can let you know about our future events.
And what you just said is really important. The music on the CD is all original compositions, and I think that, like most new music, it needs a number of listenings to feel familiar. But when you go out to play in milongas, that's only maybe a small part of what you play. You play a lot of arrangements of tangos that the tango community knows and is ready to dance to, and is ready to get really excited about. So you mix
exactly
the traditional and new music in a way that's really nice for dancers.
Absolutely, and it was wonderful because it all came very natural to me. With my big band, for instance, for me it was very natural to only play my original compositions.
Uh-huh.
But since I started leading tango ensemble, it was very natural for me to actually do a big variety of things. I mean, we do literal transcriptions, meaning that I sit down and I listen to a recording for thousands of times until I can put down all the notes that are being played by all the instruments. And we play arrangements by Francisco Canaro, Aníbal Troilo, Osvaldo Pugliese, D'Arienzo. And then what we also do, to put a little twist, is that we take sometimes pieces that you all know, but, we make our own arrangements,
Uh-huh.
So I kind of sit down and make, tunes that you may know from Di Sarli, like, I don't know, Verde Mar, and then we play our own take of that, and then we mix it also with some brand new compositions which are danceable, and I think we kind of generate a good mix, so that the tango is not really static. It has, its roots in tradition, where it's coming from, but it also gives the dancers a chance, to listen some new things and have fun while dancing.
That balance is so important at live music events, and I think you do an excellent job of finding just the right point of introducing us to new things and giving us things that are already fun to dance and easy to dance. So I think that's wonderful.
Exactly.
And if people want to buy your CDs, the tango CD or the jazz or big band CDs, what do they do?
Well, there's always Amazon. For the people who like to buy on Amazon, you can buy everything there. For the people who stream music, I'm pretty sure all my CDs, all my jazz albums, and my tango albums are on Spotify, iTunes, you name it, there. And if you want to, get an autographed CD, you just have to get in touch with me. Just send me an email, and you can send me payments via PayPal or Venmo, whatever is comfortable for you, and I can send you an autographed album. So,
how awesome is
the
that?
options are many.
Sounds fabulous. So I think we're going to conclude the interview, but before we do, can you introduce the last song we're going to listen to?
Absolutely. And for the last song, we're going to change the landscape quite drastically, although the instrumentation is very much the same. Argentina is a very vast country, and tango is, very urban music, mainly from the Rio de la Plata area, from Buenos Aires. Mm-hmm. But Argentina has a lot of other traditions, and, most of them are danceable and beautiful, but very different. And one of those rhythms and forms is the chacarera, which is sometimes a dance of milongas, at the very end, or it's a very fun dance. And I decided to kind of take the rhythmic cell of that rhythm and write this piece called La Rabiosa, or the Rageful Woman, dedicated to to those moments in marriage which are challenging.
I hope the dedication was received with good humor.
Yes. Humor is key in a marriage, yeah.
Wonderful. Well, we're going to listen to La Rabiosa, but we're going to let you also get on with your very busy life. So I just want to give you a huge, huge thank you, and also tell you how much I admire what you're doing.
Thank you so much. Once again, thank you for having this wonderful tango program, and thank you very much for having me as a guest. It was really wonderful talking to you.
Of course. And we'll see you in Philadelphia on April 1st.
Yes.
Okay. Thanks, Pedro.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
listening to live broadcasts, history, education, and other matters. Keep On Keepin' On is your one stop for all things jazz. I am your host, Marcel Bellinger. Let's hit.
If you're just joining us, this is Tango Stories on USALA Radio, and I'm your host, Meredith Klein. We had a wonderful interview today with composer, arranger, and double bassist Pedro Giraudo, and we've been listening to his music, and we still have time for two pieces. So we're going to take a step out of the genre of tango at first to listen to a track off of one of his jazz albums. This is the last part of a whole suite that's called the Angela Suite. This is the coda, so the very last part. And then after that, we're going to listen to one more beautiful, newly composed tango called A Campo Abierto. And once again, I'll remind you that this CD, that the tango tracks we've heard today are on Vigor Tanguero, amazingly won Best Tango Album at the Latin Grammys last month, and it would just be great if you all went out and acquired it, which you can do on Amazon or iTunes or wherever you get your music. So once again, two more pieces by Pedro Giraudo. Thanks for tuning into Tango Stories today. I'm your host, Meredith Klein. See you next week here on USALA Radio.
USALA Radio, tu voz, tu radio.